final meeting of the St. Joseph River Basin Commission for 2020. So, Matt, do we go straight to a roll call? What do you want to do? Do you want to do introductions or whatever logistics you need to take care of?
Perfect. Thanks, Kieran. Before we start the roll call today, I just want to provide a brief introduction to the River Basin Commission. We've got at least one new member with us. Welcome aboard to Mike Ruff, the new surveyor in Steuben County. And then I want to give just some basic instructions before we do the roll call. So first of all, my name's Matt Mearsman. I am technically an employee of the Michiana Area Council of Governments, but I serve as the director of the River Basin Commission as part of a cooperative agreement between the two entities. The first thing that's important to note is the St. Joe River Basin Commission is about an area. It's about an area of land that drains to the St. Joe River, includes 15 counties between the states of Indiana and Michigan. And the way that these 5,000 square miles of land are used and managed is the largest factor in creating many of our water quality as well as water quantity issues of concern. The commission was created by the Indiana General Assembly back in 1988 because they recognized the need for local governments to work together on addressing these issues. I always include this slide. It's got a ton of text. The thing to note, we can always use it as a reference. The thing to note is the primary functions of the commission are to provide a forum for the discussion, study, and evaluation of water resource issues, and to foster cooperative planning and coordinated management of our natural resources. The last thing that's really important is who the commission is. That is all of you, of course, that are present. And what that is it's specific individuals from each of our 6 member counties, along with a representative from the Indiana DNR. Each of the individuals in statute has the ability to designate a proxy representative to serve in their place. And there are currently 32 seats on the commission. So when you factor in proxies, legal counsel, and MACOG staff, we end up with a lot of people here. So before I attempt some form of a roll call, I just want to go over some basic instructions for the meeting today. Have been a couple new features added to Google Meet. We're getting a little more familiar with this. I think the key thing is to remain muted. Madison and Connor, at least, are going to help me if we get some background noise going. They may mute you. If you're on your phone, you can unmute yourself with a *6. And otherwise, otherwise, I just got distracted. Sorry, guys. If you're using your phone, it's really great if you can actually join with the computer. So if you're by a computer, by all means, you can still use the phone for your audio, and there's an option for doing that, and that's up in those 3 little dots down in the lower right-hand corner. Feel free to use the chat feature for any questions, or if you want to communicate without interrupting. Madison and Connor here from MACOG will be helping me try to pay attention to that chat. The other new feature that you can use is the raise hand feature down at the bottom. It's near where the mute button is. If you pop that up, you will rise to the top of the participants list, and I will hopefully notice at least there that you have a comment or question that you'd like to make. So encourage you to use that. If I can't see you, that helps. Actually, the old-fashioned hand up, that probably works too. Right now, I can see most of you. You're real tiny, but Kieran and I should be able to see you. Last thing, it's more important than ever that you state your name when making motions, asking questions, or giving comments. But you do not, of course, need to state your name when you're voting on a motion. Just say aye, that's fine. Thumbs up on your screen probably even works. The important one is that I guess the important thing to note is just we're doing consensus voting. We've been doing this with all of our virtual meetings, and that is chairperson will not only always call for all in favor, but the important one is the all who are opposed. If we have anybody who is opposed on anything, whether you use the raise hand feature and we clarify that that's what you're trying to do, we will at that point go to a roll call vote. But assuming there is consensus, we will do so with just the traditional aye on the affirmative. And we've got our attorney present here to make sure we are in line on all that stuff. Brandy's here. Thank you, Brandy. So with that, Kieran, I do want to try some attempt at a roll call here. But one last thing before, I just want to acknowledge and give a special thanks to all of our members from the health department. As you guys all know, this year's been incredibly trying for all of us, but the health officers and department staff have been on the front lines, and I can't even imagine how difficult this has been for them. So especially for you, those of you who are here today, we really appreciate what you're doing and still making time for the River Basin Commission on top of it all. So hearts go out to you guys. So with that, what I want to do, I've done this last couple meetings, is go through a slide. It's going to take a little bit of time, but I do think it's really important. And I'm going to go county by county and just sort of ask, first of all, is it so if you're from Elkhart County, now would be a time to be ready to unmute yourself. I am going to ask if we have anybody here from the city, and if you just give your name and that you're here, and I'm going to move on through. So first of all, anybody here from the city of Elkhart?
Hey, Matt, Dara Deegan here. I am Mayor Rod Robertson's proxy for the River Basin Commission, and I also work as the aquatic biologist for the city of Elkhart. Great, thanks, Dara. How about from Elkhart County Commissioners? I know Commissioner Wyrick was not able to be here, but any chance Frank Luke Case is here? I didn't see him pop up. Elkhart County Health Department, I know we got someone there.
Yeah, good morning. I'm Bill Hartsuff. I'm the on-site program supervisor for the Elkhart County Health Department, and I'm the proxy for the health officer, Dr. Lydia Mertz.
Great. Thanks so much, Bill. And Lydia reached out and let me know she wouldn't be able to be here, so I appreciate you being here in her place. How about from drainage? Anybody here from the surveyor's office? I didn't see any name pop up, but I do know Jim Hess is here. Jim, I saw your comment pop up. He doesn't have a mic, but thank you for being here from the Soil and Water Conservation District. So how about, whoops, I just flipped through. Didn't mean to pass Kosciuszko that quick. So I don't think we've got anybody here from the town of Syracuse. If they do, by all means, speak up. But I know we got someone here from the county executive branch. John, or today, Mark, and you are muted, John, just so you know.
John Roberts, I represent the county commissioners. I'm a former Soil and Water Conservation District supervisor.
Great, thanks. Thanks to have you here, John. How about from health department? I know we got someone on the phone, I think. Bob Weaver, are you here still? He may have muted himself, but I know we. Oh.
Yes, I'm here.
Great, thanks, Bob. Appreciate it. How about from the surveyor's office? I know Mike Kissinger wasn't able to join us, but Deputy, I think Jim Moyer, is there any chance Jim's here? Okay, I guess not. And then I know we got somebody from the SWCD.
Yeah, Jewel Wise, Soil and Water District member, board member.
Thank you, Jewel. All right, for LaGrange County, get your mics ready if you're here. I don't believe, Ray, did we have anybody here from the town of LaGrange? I didn't see any names pop up. How about from the county? I know Larry wasn't going to be here, but Martin Franke, I don't think I saw his name anyway. Health officer, I didn't record anybody from LaGrange today. If you're here from LaGrange, by all means, now's the time to speak up. I don't think I have anybody on my list of folks present. Just an important thing to note on that front, we do have some kind of particularities in our quorum requirement, and that we have to have at least 3 of the 6 counties present, but that's not an issue. So the fact that nobody's here from LaGrange today, although it is the heart of the basin, we can still move forward. So I'm going to skip on to Noble County. And if anybody joins later from LaGrange, we'll catch you. So from Noble, I don't believe we have anybody here from the city of Kendallville, if I'm wrong. How about county? Is Dan Lash here by any chance? So, how about health department? Actually, anybody else? I don't think I recorded anybody for Noble either. Is anybody here from Noble County? Okay. Well, I was in their county last night, so they didn't need to come today. How about St. Joe County? We've got 2 municipalities in St. Joe, so I know we've got a lot of folks here from St. Joe County. I'll start with City of Mishawaka.
Adam Bowden, Assistant Director of Engineering for the City of Mishawaka, representing Mayor Dave Wood.
Thank you, Adam.
Kieran Fahy, City of South Bend, Director of the city's long-term control plan for combined sewers, representing Mayor James Mueller, Mayor of South Bend.
Thank you, Kieran. I don't believe we have anybody here from the County Commissioner's office. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. Roger, please. I think we had Roger pop up. I'll assume I'll assume Roger's still here, but if not, I've had to pop off for a minute. But I thought I saw him here earlier. How about from the health department? Is Mark here by any chance? I did see John Law, and I saw your hand go up. Thank you, John. I don't know if that means you don't have a mic, but I'll take that to mean that. And then from our SWCD, Sarah?
Becker, representing the Soil and Water Conservation District.
Great, thank you, Sarah. Thank you. All right, last county, and then of course our DNR, but start with City of Angola.
Good morning, Chris Thomas, MS4 coordinator for City of Angola, also the proxy for Mayor Richard Hickman.
Thank you, Chris. I know Tara, I know Commissioner Crowell wasn't going to be here, but then Janelle informed us that Tara is not here, so I don't think we have anybody from the county, county commissioner's office in Steuben. Health department.
Oops, sorry about that. Alicia Walsh, administrator of the Steuben County Health Department, representing Dr. Ted Chrisman, health officer of the county.
Thank you, Alicia. And our surveyor.
Yes,
Mike, is still with us?
Yeah, I'm here, Matt.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. And conservation, our Soil and Water Conservation District.
Good morning, Janelle Meyer, Administrative Coordinator for Steuben County Soil and Water.
Thank you, Janelle. I think I saw DNR. Rod, are you here?
Yep, Rod Edgell, biologist with the DNR and proxy for the director, Dan Bordner.
Awesome. Thanks so much. I think we had a couple folks enter, at least one LaGrange County person. Martin, are you here? Can you introduce yourself?
Martin Franke, Soil and Water Conservation District, but proxy for the LaGrange County Commissioners.
Perfect. Did I miss anybody in roll call? Thank you all for being patient with me on that. Did I miss anybody? All right. So with that, Chairman, I will turn it back over to you. We definitely have a quorum.
Great. Thanks very much, Matt. So Matt circulated the agenda. I think I'm looking back at my emails here. So Matt, it was Wednesday of last week, the day before Thanksgiving. So I presume that everybody has easy access to that as we go through it this morning. And thanks for that, Matt. So we'll call to order, roll call, approval of minutes. So we'll move on to first, well, not really the first item, but let me see. This was technically the third item, approval of minutes from our last meeting, which was also kind of a hybrid virtual meeting, September the 3rd of 2020. And we'll start before we'll ask for any questions and any comments from Matt himself, and then comments from the floor, I suppose, from everybody on that. And okay.
I would just add, Kieran, as I usually do, I got to thank Carla at the MACOG office for a great job of turning all my rambling into something sensible.
Thanks, Matt. Does anybody have any questions about the minutes? Well, if not, we should look for a motion, I presume, Matt, to approve these minutes. Okay. Does if anybody wants to give a motion to approve, so I'll look for a motion, and when you give a motion, if you could state your name, like Matt said, just so it's easier for the minutes, and then after that we'll look for a second, and again we need somebody to state their name, and then we'll vote. Normally, like Matt said, we'll vote. We'd normally vote in favor or against, but sorry, normally we would ask for all in favor, but today we're going to do both sides. It being kind of a little bit unusual to do it like a meeting like this. So do we have a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting for September?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Alicia. Oh.
I think I heard two people there. I think I heard Alicia and Dara. Is that correct?
This is Adam Bowden. It was me.
Adam, sorry.
I'll second.
Perfect. Okay. So hearing a motion to approve, I think it was Alicia maybe, and second Adam. All in favor of approving the minutes? Remember, you have to unmute yourself, and we're going to say aye.
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 All who are opposed? Okay, motion passed, and that means that we're done with that item on the agenda. Let's move on to financials. So we've got two sections here, financial reports and approval of claims. So Matt, under financials, financial reports, please.
Thank you, Karen. I'm going to try and go through these three reports that I sent to all in email. The first one is our statement of activities. This is pretty much tracks everything that goes in and out. I think the important thing to note is we're always a quarter in the rears. So we're reporting now on everything up until September 30th, which is the first quarter of our fiscal year. I made some notes on there that you can see. The ones that I would want to draw your attention to is under, and I didn't even bother with estimates since we're just one quarter in, but I think at the next one, I'll bring in some estimates with where I expect us to be at. But I just, I wanted to note that I am aware of at least 2 counties who have approved their budgets. And I don't think that we're going to end up at our budgeted amount on income from local government. I don't think we'll be far off. And I think there's good news there in the sense that we are seeing increasing support from our local governments. But I know because of the COVID pandemic, the timing of our request to increase our appropriation in some of our communities is not going to be met. So we will probably end up a little short there. The bigger thing was items, notes D and F, which is that those 2 items, rent and our additional MACOG staff, will increase pretty significantly in Q2. So be on the lookout for that to change pretty dramatically. And then the last one had a note of G next to our planning and resource development. We had a bunch of closeout costs that rolled into this fiscal year out of the North Branch of the Elkhart planning project. So that's all I have on that statement. I'm going to actually move through all 3 statements, if that's okay, Chairman. And then we can. Perfect. Thank you. So the next statement that I sent around was our statement of net assets, which is essentially a balance sheet. I think the number that I always want to highlight here is our total fund balance. That's basically how much money we have in our pocket once we pay all our debts. And we're in a good position, even despite the $22,000 net loss that we have in this quarter. And the other note that I would make is that our total cash does not match the number on our bank account statement. And that's because total cash is actually our register balance. And we have a couple of checks that had not cleared when the statement was made. So I included in your packet a bank statement and a reconciliation report so you can see what those 2 checks were and why there was a difference there. The final item is our cash flows. So this is, we are on an accrual basis. This statement is a cash basis. So this is cash going in and out, again, ended September 30th. Not a lot of action on here yet in the way of local government appropriations. That kind of starts in the next year. I think the important thing I wanted to note on this one is that I expect that special project revenue cash item to increase pretty significantly soon because we are waiting on a payment for our IU Grand Challenge grant as well as Great Lakes Protection Fund. So I'm expecting about a $24,000 there. So we'll look a lot better after that. With that, I'm going to stop and ask if there are any questions about any of those 3 statements. And I will also note at this time, I saw Randy Sexton join us, the surveyor from Noble County. So we got someone from every county, and thank you for being here, Randy. That's all I've got, Chairman.
Great.
Someone also joined over the phone, and I'm not sure who it is.
Yeah, we do have one new phoner. Thank you, Madison. Oh, that's Leah. So we're good there. Yep.
So does anyone have any questions for Matt on the financial reports? Well, it sounds like no questions. Matt, nothing else to add? I'll look for a motion, then entertain a motion to approve the financial report, please.
So moved. Martin Franke.
Thanks, Martin. And a second?
Jewel Wise, second.
Jewel Wise, second. Thank you very much. So hearing a motion and a second, ask for a vote. All in favor of approving the financial reports, please say aye.
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 All who are opposed? Okay. Motion passed, and next item then would be the approval of claims. Is that correct, Matt?
That's right, Kieran.
Yeah, perfect. Great.
Nothing really special on the claims this month. We've just got our invoices for the first 3 months of the quarter from MACOG, as well as one final invoice on our North Branch of the Elkhart Planning Project, and then our legal expenses for today's meeting. Kieran, you are muted, just so you know.
Sorry, I am. Yeah, I got distracted for a second. I just wanted to say, Matt, did you want an approval of these as well, or?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, we were looking for approval to pay the claims.
Gotcha. So anybody have any questions on these for Matt? Don't hear any questions. Could I get a motion then to approve the approval of claims, please, from the floor? Anybody?
Janelle Meyer, Steuben County, so moved.
Thanks, Janelle. Do you have a second?
Second, Martin Franke, LaGrange County.
Thanks, Martin. Having a motion and a second, could I call for a vote and ask that all in favor say aye?
Aye.
Aye.
All who are, thank you. All who are opposed? Okay, motion approved, and we move on to the next item, which would be old business. We've got 3 sub items here. So the first item under old business, Matt, is an update on special projects.
It is, Kieran, and this is a big one. You know, I think the important thing that I want to note on this, I'm going to try really hard not to spend too much time on these, but these items encompass a lot of our work, and I want to say a whole lot more about them, but I'm really going to try and limit myself to 1 or 2 bullets on each. There's a whole bunch more information on these on our website now, and I'm happy to take any questions on them, but there's just a lot of stuff going on with each of these. So I'm going to kind of go through them and try to keep to 2 or 3 bullet points on each one. And I just want to mention that these projects are only possible because of the fact that we can rely on the support of our local government members to cover our basic operations. So this is the stuff we get to do with the state money because we can count on you guys to help us with our basic operations. So I'm going to go through these, starting first with one I'm really excited about, finally to have some development on our additional staffing support. We are joined today by Madison Ward and Connor Flora, who have been serving this fall as interns for MACOG in the River Basin, and they have been incredible to work with. They will be given a couple presentations later, and it has been really, it's been far better than I expected to have to manage folks. I was really worried about that as a part-time director, that the additional burden that came on would be more than the help that I got. And it's not that there is not additional work, there is, but I've just found it really helpful to have other people present and on the team to be able to talk through things. So they're going to talk more about what they've been up to, but I just wanted to let you guys know that the executive director of MACOG, James Turnwald, and I will be meeting later this month to sort of discuss next steps with this. When both of these folks came on board, it was kind of under the understanding of a fall internship, which would probably end at the end of the month. But we're going to talk and to see where we go from here. So any questions on, I guess I'll take questions on each of these items because there are so many of them. Or maybe, Kieran, I'm sorry, help me here. Should I go through all of them or?
Yeah, man, I think lump them together and go through all of them, make it kind of streamlined a bit.
All right, so note your questions if you got them. I'm happy to take them. So the next special project item is our tree project. This is under municipal partner support. You guys have heard about this for a long time, $130,000 grant from the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative. We've been working with 6 communities in the basin, and we have held meetings with all those communities now to give the reports except the town of Syracuse. So they had a COVID outbreak right when we were trying to connect with them, and the tree board was down. So we are rescheduling that one for hopefully later this year. But each of the communities is working on planting site selection using the maps. Really cool website. We'll have it linked. The news article right now doesn't link to the website, but we'll have it linked soon. There is so much information that came out of this. This little snapshot I've got of a map is kind of what each community got to help them prioritize locations for planting trees. And we'll be giving them 50 good sized trees, but priority locations where they're going to maximize stormwater uptake. So the communities right now are working on figuring out exactly where they want to put these trees using all the information that we've given them. And we'll be looking at next spring and the next fall and maybe even the following spring for the actual planting. The next item is education outreach. We wrapped up our online communications training series. The last one was on social skills for social media. That wrapped up at the end of September, and we had pretty good attendance on those. We held 3 different ones. I have created a YouTube channel where you can go and see all these, as well as a whole bunch of other information. A little special thanks to Dara Deegan for City of Elkhart. I found a bunch of really cool videos on the St. Joe that I was able to add to our channel. So there's a couple different playlists. If you're, up late at night, can't sleep, and you want to learn more about the river, now we got another spot to do that at. Let's see, next item. This one's going to be really hard for me to stick to 2 bullets on. This is our drainage project. You guys have heard about this for a long time. We did a bunch of work on this over the last quarter, mostly all in LaGrange County. I'm glad Martin's here. I'm bummed no one here from the surveyor's office, because we really stepped in October and helped them with 4 different watersheds that they were working on, attended a public hearing, provided a bunch of maps. Really important area that we were working in had a bunch of natural land cover, and it really, I guess I can't resist saying this project is about trying to better estimate the benefit that landowners receive from drainage projects, whether that be drain creation or drain maintenance projects. The standard approach of just breaking it down by the acre doesn't really serve all the landowners as well as it could, from the standpoint of different landowners receive different benefits from the drain. And this watershed that you're seeing on the top, I believe is called the JW Knight, was one where I don't know if you can make it out from the legend, but it had a lot of natural land cover in the middle of it. And those folks, not only did they really not want the drainage improvement project, it also happened to be that they wouldn't receive the benefit from. They didn't see that as a benefit, and they didn't really need it as far as they were concerned. And I know that's an issue that varies depending on where you're at. But that we were able to use land cover information as well as soils information to actually calculate a different rate per acre for each land cover type, and still collect the total amount of money that was needed to maintain this ditch. The other big thing that we did that helped them out a lot, and for my surveyors that are on the phone, you guys know that one of the biggest things you get at your public hearings is, well, I'm not on that ditch. I don't benefit from that ditch. Why am I paying at all? And one of the things, especially the further the person is, the further the property is away from the ditch, the harder it is for someone to understand that they are connected to that drain. And so we did some maps that helped show the flow path, like how water accumulates and how it moves across the landscape, to better understand that you are hydrologically connected to this drain. So we were able to help them with some materials for their presentation, and I think it went well. So we're doing a lot of work in LaGrange County. I know I've talked, that's one long bullet point there, just so you know. The second bullet point, really important, is in wrapping up this grant. We've received grant funding to do this that comes from the Great Lakes Protection Fund, and that's going to be wrapping up soon. If not the first quarter of next year, it might be the summer. But the consultant that we're working with on this has developed some new tools, and they're at a stage where we really want to get out. So for my surveyors who are on the line, or for those of you who work closely with your county surveyor, I'm going to be reaching out following this meeting. We really need to get a sense of the scope of drainage improvement projects that are going on across the basin, and it varies dramatically from county to county. So we're looking at something like a survey instrument, maybe like an interview, where we could sit down and kind of go through some questions if you have the time. Otherwise, maybe a survey you fill out online. But we definitely want to do some direct one-on-one a follow-up with you if we can. And included in that is going to be an offer to do a demonstration project in your county. Not something that you officially need to adopt or show to the drainage board necessarily, or whatever, but to show you for one of your drainage watersheds what it would look like to reapportion it using this method, to just get a sense of what we're doing with the project. So we'll be reaching out on that, and definitely hopeful that some of our drainage officials will sit down and give me a couple minutes just to talk through how things work in their office. I'm going to stop with that on that project, and I appreciate you guys all bearing with me through that. The next one, you've heard a lot about this over the last year. That was our planning for North Branch of the Elkhart River. We held our final stakeholder meeting for the project at the end of September, just shortly after, well, a little ways after our last river basin meeting. And the final report was delivered in early October, and that is now available on our website. We've got a news article on this, and you can get to the full report there. Thanks to Randy Sexton from Noble County, who helped me arrange a presentation of the report to the Noble County Commissioners and Drainage Board. We just did that last week, and I think it was pretty well received. And I've got another item on this next that I'll just roll right into. We didn't want to lose the momentum on this project, and so one of the things that came out was a recommendation to increase some of the monitoring in this basin. So thanks to Connor, who's going to talk more about his project, we've installed some stream gauges, volunteer stream gauges, to sort of help maintain that momentum that we built and follow up on some of the recommendations and follow up in a way that engages local partners. So we installed a couple of these things, and Connor will be talking more about this later, but it fits nicely under the water monitoring item of our special projects. And with that, that is all I have for special projects. So I would welcome any questions at this time about any of those 6 or 7 items. We don't have, just so our chairman knows, we don't have any business related to any of these that I'm aware of.
I figured, yeah. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah,
No,
can you hear me?
Yep, can hear you.
This is Randy Sexton. I want to thank the River Basin, and in particular Matt, for the work on the flood study on the West Lakes area and the Elkhart River. It's greatly appreciated. I believe the Drainage Board greatly appreciated it, and I think we can all gain a lot of benefit out of the results of it. And I'm hoping that this is the momentum to move it forward and also educate some of the people that have ideas out there that are contrary to the way nature runs and the way it works. So, and I think Matt saw that when he was at Drainage Board here a week ago. So I wanted to reach out and say a special thank you for that. That's all.
Thank you, Randy. Thank you.
Anybody else have any comments or questions for Matt on this? So Matt, I just want to say that, like, this is, to me, this and the director's report are always the 2 most interesting parts of the agenda, because you know, with any kind of body like this or group like this, it's easy to we get so caught up in administration sometimes that we can kind of forget about some of the actual real work that gets done. And this is the exciting stuff to see, and seeing pictures like this and these kind of projects, you know. So here for like more of these are definitely appreciated and great. So you've got presumably we've nothing else to raise, and nobody else has any questions or comments on that, and you don't need any kind of voting on that, Matt, I presume. Then we would just go to the biennium change request.
Yeah, I will, Kieran. And I appreciate you saying that. And I know last meeting I was really bad on too much time on administrative stuff. So
well, it's no criticism at all. No, I'm just saying I enjoy it. Just the stuff I enjoy, you know, that's all.
I hear you. And I think if I could just add one more thing on that North Branch, Randy reminded me of it. As much as the report has been helpful in way of giving us some guidelines on next steps and better understanding, and certainly provides some support for some things that that we're trying to educate people on, I think the process itself, even more so than the report, has been what's been valuable. Being able to engage the stakeholders, getting down there, that has been as valuable as the product has been the process. And I just want to mention that. So our first item under old business, Kieran, is the biennium change request. And this is also just an update. I wanted to remind you guys that right now, last we knew, our budget item in the state's general budget was cut pretty significantly. And depending on what happens with COVID and the state of emergency, the reserve that gets placed on that item could end up totaling to something like a $30,000. Now that $30,000 loss in our special project, our ability to do those kind of projects. The folks from the state budget agency, I did have a meeting with them back in October, and they say that it's incredibly unlikely that both we would be cut by the 16% that's proposed, and then having an additional, I say 16%, 16,000. I forget what the percent was. It's on our financial statements, but they said it's very unlikely that we would have that and then have the reserve placed on top. So that would be a really worst case scenario. But nonetheless, we put together a change package to ask them to maintain us at the $100,000 that we currently get. And they said they don't know yet, that the governor's budget is expected to be released later this month. And so we will know where we stacked out. I did my best to make our case. And the only other thing was I just wanted to mention that I'm still having conversation with our legislators, Representative Abbott and Sue Glick, about creating a dedicated funding source. I've been talking to the other river basin commissions. The one we've talked about in these meetings the most is the Kankakee River Basin Commission, although it's got a new name. I know it's longer than that. But they finally got a dedicated funding source that allows them to be funded locally rather than from the state's general fund. And if we could get our strategy in line, it's possible that we could, the legislators would like to use that as a model. And so there's still hopes that we get to a point where we're not on the chopping block every year in the state's general fund budget. So that's all I've got on this one, Kieran, if anybody has any questions.
Yeah, I don't, but does anybody have any questions for Matt? Observations or comments? Okay, so Matt, should we move along?
Yeah, be great.
Okay, new business. Election of 2021 officers. Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, I guess we had one more old business item, I think.
Sorry.
No problem. So I left this on there. I spent way too much time talking about this last month, and then we never actually talked about what we needed to get set. And so these are pretty light business, but it's important nonetheless. We first need to get ourselves on the calendar for next year. If we stick with our current, what we've been doing for a couple years now of first Thursday on the months of March, June, September, and December, these would be the dates that we'd be looking at for next year. So I would like to formalize that through a motion to adopt this as our schedule for next year.
I don't have any objection to that. I wonder, does anybody have any comments on that? Following this same procedure for the last probably 2 or 3 years, Matt, we've been doing it like this on the Thursdays. So anybody have any concerns or comments, or is this a major clash with anybody for any administrative purposes? Okay, sounding like this suits everybody then. Could I get, we'll put this to a vote, and could I get a motion to approve the 2021 meeting schedule, please?
So moved.
That was Randy Sexton.
Thanks. And a second, please.
Alicia Vandy, I'll second.
Thanks, Alicia. So all in favor of this meeting schedule, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
If you're opposed, all opposed, please say nay. Okay, thanks. That's passed. That's the meeting schedule for next year. Thanks, Matt.
I kind of broke these two out. I don't know where we're going to be at next year as far as with the pandemic, but in hopes that we can at least get back to a hybrid option like we had at the last quarter, I wanted to, I'm sorry, Chairman, I probably should have rolled this into one motion, but I decided to keep them separate. But we talked a lot at the last meeting about possibly changing our official meeting location. And I would really like to move forward with that. And I want to say that the city of Goshen, since the last meeting, has been incredible to work with. They blocked off their calendar for next year on those dates. And more importantly to all of you, they installed acoustic panels in the room to improve the sound, which was terrible last time. So we've got a meeting space that's large enough to accommodate us, which has been an issue at the Public Works building where we had met. So I would like a motion to say that if we do get back to a hybrid, that we would change our official meeting location to the Schrock Pavilion in Goshen.
Perfect. So we'll put that to a vote. Does anybody have any questions or comments first of all before we vote on that?
This
Okay.
is Adam.
Yep.
Just being in present, the last meeting we had there, I would definitely just it's definitely an improvement of location, and just fully endorse that.
Great,
sure.
great. And it's a change, and a change is always good too, isn't it?
Yeah,
so,
and it keeps kind of the central location in the watershed.
Perfect.
So
nice,
easy
great.
to get to.
So, do you have something else to say before we put that to a vote, Matt, or before we
Yeah,
look for a
Karen,
motion?
two things. One, I saw Roger's hand up. I don't know if Roger had
Okay.
a comment or if he, and then the other thing was, Martin, I don't know if you were talking there to us, but you were muted if you were. looks like he may just be on a call. No big deal. Oh,
Okay.
there he is.
No. I just wanted to make the comment. I was asking Adam whether he had made that a motion. I was also personally present, and I'm strongly in favor as well. If he made that a motion, I'd like to second it.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, so we have a motion and we have a second. So here, presuming that unless anybody has any other comments, now raise your hand now. And do you see anybody, Matt, with anybody else?
I don't.
Okay, perfect. We'll get this resolved. So so we have a motion and we have a second for the location. Remember, we just approved the dates the last time, so we have the time, and now we're trying to clarify the place. All in favor of the new location, please say aye.
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 All opposed, please say nay. Great. I see some hands being raised there, and I presume those are just in voting in favor, Matt. We're presuming unless we hear otherwise. Okay, so that motion has passed, so we have the time and we have the location set for next year, which is great. And we can move along then to new business, election of 2021 officers already.
Yes, I know. And you're relieved, I'm sure. So I just want to note that since before I've been involved, there's been sort of a custom with the River Basin Commission where folks sort of move to the next office each following year. I don't know if you want to call it a progression or a demotion, but it basically means that typically we're only looking for one person each year that's willing to step up to be an officer. And then we're always looking to ask the rest of the folks whether they're willing to step up. And also it sort of makes it so when we go looking for, say, a treasurer in this case, we're looking not so much for someone who's really excited about doing numbers, because all of our officer positions don't have, other than the chair leading the meetings and the vice chair being ready to step in their absence, I think the officers that are here today that can attest, treasurer just is reviewing financial statements and the secretary's reviewing the minutes, but there's not a lot of administrative burden on any of these offices. So the important thing is that when we ask someone to come on as an officer, it's with the intention that if all things continue as they've gone the last many years, you will chair a meeting after 4 years or so. So Kieran, I don't know if you knew that when you took on that treasurer position, but now you find yourself as chair. And I've reached out to everyone, I don't know if below you is the right term, but the other officers that you serve with, and everyone is willing to move up. And so the slide that you're looking at now just shows where folks would be if we wanted to take that route to continue that. And we would be looking for just one spot to fill, and we would need a motion to do that as a slate, to do that through consensus vote. But of course, we want to open that up to the floor and see if there's anybody else. I would just say, and I'm put a couple people on the spot. I'm glad that they're here today. One is without a mic, so he's going to be a little bit handicapped on this. But last year, Jim Hess from the Elkhart County Soil and Water Conservation District expressed a willingness to serve on the as an officer, I should say. And then this year, Adam Bowden from the city of Mishawaka has also expressed an interest or willingness to do that. So it's not to say those two folks need to. I just wanted to let you all know that I've had at least 2 folks over the last couple of years who have said, yeah, if it came to it, I guess I would do that. So Jim's comment was Adam Bowden would be great. So Kieran, you are muted now. I don't know if you want to ask for any nominations from the floor or.
Yeah, does anybody have any comments or questions for anything in relation to this topic? Any objections? No, perfect. Okay, so Matt, when we vote on this, we're going to vote for the full package, basically, seeing as there's no other.
Yeah, and Brandy, you can correct me on this if you need to, but I think what we would be doing is looking to fill in this name, and if it's Adam that we want to put in there, that's fine, and then you would treat it as a slate.
So the first thing you would need to do, you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Would be somebody would need to officially nominate a person. That nomination would need to be seconded, and the person would need to officially accept the nomination. And then you'd ask if there are any other competing nominations
Gotcha.
for the treasurer. If there aren't any, it looks like Jim has just officially nominated Adam.
Okay, so we have a nomination, and you said, Brandy, we need a second. Do we have a second?
I'd second the nomination.
And then does Adam accept the nomination?
That's the most important part.
Yes, I appreciate it, everyone. Thanks for
Perfect.
the nomination.
And then are
Bra-
there any other nominations?
Perfect. Any competitors for the position?
I move that nominations close.
Perfect. So we'll vote on that, Matt.
I think so.
Yes, that's it. Okay, so we have a nomination and we have a second, and the nominations are closed. So all in favor of this slate and of the addition of Adam Bowden to the position of treasurer, which is the main change here. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, please say nay. Congratulations, Adam. Vote is passed. Let's see. So that concludes the election 2021 officers, Matt. So Indiana Watershed Leadership Academy.
Yes, and thank you to Adam for sure, and to Brandy for your counsel there. So a little bit of a change for those of you who've been with the commission for a while. For the last several years, we have helped support the participation of leaders from the St. Joe River Basin to attend the Watershed Leadership Academy that is put on by Purdue University. It's been a great experience. We typically have folks come back and tell us about it. We've put our members through before. I know we've got several on the line, Chris, Randy Sexton, several members who have gone through the academy themselves. This year was a little different. Normally we kind of designate a nominating committee and we do this stuff, but this year there was some uncertainty as to whether the academy was even going to happen. And we got notice sort of late in the game that they were going to do it, but it was going to be virtual only. And it was after we had held our last quarterly meeting, so we didn't really put a committee together. But since then, I've had some communication with the director of the academy, and I am aware it was 2 individuals from the River Basin that had applied, but one recently had something come up. You see the names on your screen. John had something come up from Hackenberg Lake, and he's unfortunately able to attend. But Martin Franke from LaGrange County Soil and Water has applied and is wanting to go, and Martin is a member of the commission, of course, and so he didn't come asking us. In fact, we like I said, work directly with the Watershed Academy folks. But I want to put it out there that this would be a really good opportunity to help support the participation of one of our members at the commission if we decided to still offer some financial assistance this year. That we would have one good candidate that I would vouch for.
Thank you, Matt.
And I would be, sorry, Kieran, and I would be looking for a motion to support spending. We have this money already budgeted in education and outreach. So it would just be to utilize this money to help support Martin's attendance. Oh, you are muted, Kieran.
Yep, I was muted. I just said some great stuff there. I'll try to repeat it as eloquently. Anyway, can we get a motion from the floor then to approve, as Matt said, then we have this budget allocated and just to designate it for Martin Franke's attendance at this.
This is John Roberts, Kosciuszko County. I so move.
And a second, please.
Dara Deegan, I will second.
Thanks, folks. Having a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, nay. Okay, motion passed. Thanks, folks. And that's the Watership Academy covered. I presume Matt know all the points on that. Do you want to move on to the 2021 symposium?
Kieran?
Yeah, great. Dara, sorry.
Sorry to throw a little bit of a curveball in here. Was there any additional money budgeted beyond for one person to go? I think like last year we did 2, right?
We did, yeah.
We did, Dara. As far as the budget, we don't get into like really breaking that down. When I put that budget together, I include the symposium. So in that line item, the symposium, what we had done for Watershed Academy in the past, in addition to some extra money for website updates or any other things that would fall under the education and outreach. So it's not sort of explicitly broke down in that way. But when I did my estimates to put the budget together, I included what we had been spending, which was for 2 people. And I think the cost is actually a little lower this year with the online version.
The reason why I'm asking is just like, you know, is there anyone else here at the meeting today that would like to go, kind of thing? You know, just throw it out there. Or
yeah, good comment.
I mean, I've been through the academy. I thought it was a pretty good program, and I think it would benefit every member of our commission to attend it. So I just thought I'd throw it out there.
And I would say that I would do, if there is a member that's interested in getting in there this year, you know, we're well past the application deadline now, but we've got a great relationship with these folks, and knowing that John had been a slot allocated for him, I'm certain they have room, so we could pull some strings if anybody else was interested.
Anybody?
Just a comment. Not sure how many people are aware of the details on this, and I wasn't myself. We've always had a conflicting event that prevented us from being involved in the past, and this year, unfortunately, that event, the Northern Indiana Grazing Conference, had to be canceled because of the large number of people that normally attend. So what I was going to mention was this year with the virtual program, normal tuition, I believe, is $900 per individual to be involved in the program. Anyone from a soil and water conservation district is included in that for $400, which is quite a bargain. So yeah, you're going to be spending quite a bit less this year than we have in the past. I think one year in the past, I remember, I think we sent 4 people as opposed to 2 too. So I would also suggest anybody that's interested, you know, make themselves known.
Thanks, Martin.
It doesn't sound like we have a lot of interest here, does it? Yeah.
And by all means, I mean, I think if we, I don't know how it needs to work formally, but I wanted to bring that before the commission because it was a little different than what had happened in the past. But I sort of, I appreciate that, Alicia, maybe next year, that we could, if someone does reach out to me in the next couple of days and we can manage to pull some strings, like Martin said, it's considerably less expensive, and we do have the money in our budget. If I felt like I had the support of this commission, I would certainly be willing to do that if someone reaches out at a later date. So
what you might do is,
yeah.
If someone might make a motion to approve the funding of sending a second commission member, if they apply within the next 2 weeks.
That sounds good.
That sounds good, Brandy.
Okay, so just so that we have that approved in advance, that way if somebody does apply.
And I think you could actually do 2 with easily with the reduction in cost this year.
Okay, so do we have a motion for, as Brandy suggested there, basically to keep a place or 2 places open, because as considering we have the budget for this, and if anybody does decide to apply, and they can contact Matt, and they won't need to go back to the board for approval, it'll be pre-approved. So if we have a motion from that, we could just get it approved.
Dara Deegan, I'll make that motion.
Thanks, Dara. And a second?
Alicia Vaniel, second. Alicia Walsh.
Thanks, Alicia. Okay, having a motion and a second, all in favor of this, please say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Thanks. All opposed, please say nay. Okay, so I think that's a good idea. Thanks for highlighting that, Dara. To not let the place go to waste this year, and best of luck, Martin, in it. And that's that completed now. I think, unless anybody else has any other comments, I presume we move on to the 2021 symposium.
Yeah.
Thanks,
just
Matt.
saying, if you didn't feel comfortable making a commitment in this meeting format, by all means, please reach out to me, or if you know of someone that you'd like me to nudge who isn't present at the meeting today, by all means, let me know. So the last item that I have sort of under new business is our 21st now annual symposium. It's typically held on the second Friday in May. Hard to imagine it not being primarily virtual at this point. We can leave that part open, but I do want to get a date set. and maybe it's kind of silly to bring this stuff to a business motion or whatever, but I would like to know, we've gotten some requests for calendars that are being done, like, hey, when's the symposium next year? Definitely want to have one again, even if it is virtual. So basically with this business item, Chairman, I'm looking for formal approval for the date, and I'm encouraging input for topics or content suggestions. If you've seen a speaker that managed to make virtual meetings fun and exciting, I'm certainly going to do a lot more thinking on how we can bring back some of the networking kind of things, whether that be through some breakout rooms or some like a virtual lobby. I've seen all kinds of things over the last year. I'm sure you guys have too. Some things that I never thought would work that actually kind of, this one, the Indiana Water Summit, for those of you who attended, had a live band, which sounded crazy to me. And I found myself, I couldn't pull away to go get lunch because the music was actually enjoyable and you saw other people there enjoying it. It was wild. So anyway, not saying we're going to have a band, but I would love to see some kind of elements brought in that bring this back to something that has more networking and you're not just being spoke to.
Thanks, Matt. So when we do come to a motion, we're basically going to look for a motion to approve the date and that we essentially have a symposium next year and they approve the date. But first of all, do you want to get any comments based on your points you just raised there, any feedback, or do you just want people to kind of have it on the radar, think about ideas for next year?
I was mostly thinking the latter just because of this format, but if anybody wants to bring up something now, I'd welcome it. But if it's easier to do that with a personal email or phone call, would love to talk to you about this.
So basically we would look for a motion then just for the moment to approve that we have a symposium and that'll be on May 14th next year, which is a Friday, 2021. And that's, Jim Hess has forwarded after that motion. Do we have a second on that?
Jewel Wise, second.
Thanks, Jewel. Okay, a motion and a second. We have all in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, please say nay. Okay, Matt, motion passed. And then just add on that if anybody does have any ideas or comments, for that, who knows where we'll be by May next year. Hopefully we'll be in a different situation. But if it is virtual, it'd be nice to have a good engaging speaker. It's more important almost when it's virtual to have an engaging speaker, and then obviously to do something just whatever it is that's different. So Matt's open for ideas, everybody. That'd be
great.
Without
that great meal that we used to lure everybody with, it's kind of like, what do we got?
So other business updates from commission members. Oh, presuming Matt, you're finished with the last item. Yep.
That's right.
Perfect. Thanks. So if anybody has anybody from the commission, I suppose, has an update or just anything of interest that they want to highlight to this forum, that's of interest, then that'd be of interest to us. Thank you. Go ahead. So Matt, it sounds like we don't have anything there, which is nothing interesting happened in the basin last quarter. Director's report. Thanks, Matt. Take it away.
You bet. No problem. So with this, I'm coming up to the hour mark here, and I was going to try really hard to turn it over to the interns at 11 o'clock. So I'm not going to, I've got 2 pages worth of things that I want to share with you guys. And what this is the portion of the agenda where I try to cover things that were not included under those project updates that we didn't address specifically in other places, and there's a lot of it. So I'm just going to highlight a few things, maybe one from each of these, and then I would offer last quarter. Adam had a great suggestion. I sent it around via email, so I can do that again if you guys would like. But first, let me just say, administratively, this was a big quarter. Besides the usual stuff, the hiring of the interns, orientation, oversight, all that kind of stuff has been administratively a new thing. So that was definitely a big part of it. Under planning and resource development, I think the most exciting thing that I want to share under that was a roundtable that I participated in with some of our Michigan partners. Michigan does not have anything like a watershed commission or a river basin commission. And we've always been in our statute, the idea is to work together with Michigan to get something like that in place so we can work together more formally. And there are a number of folks who've been working on for 5 or 6 years how to sustainably fund watershed efforts up there. And they're looking not at sort of a general fund appropriation like we have, not a property owner tax like the Kankakee River Basin now has, but after all this surveying work, they did all kinds of surveys of landowners, of people, not just the choir, just broadly surveying the population, and identified that actually having a optional thing on your, I think it's your property taxes, a little checkbox like we might have for donate to, I don't know what kind of thing we got in Indiana. My wife's a tax accountant, so I don't see the taxes. But apparently there's an option to check a box to give a small donation to something that is government related. And apparently and I know this is easier to say in a survey, yes, than it is to actually do it. But the support was that they could actually raise some pretty significant money for watershed funding efforts through a volunteer tax, if you will. So learning a little bit more about that was really helpful. Under education and outreach, I made a lot of presentations, believe it or not, even some in-person ones, had a couple really cool ones on the river, which was great. Special thanks to Dara Deegan for his help with getting together with a school group, couple school groups. And then I, of course, did a bunch of virtual presentations as well. And it seemed like we had an unusually high number of inquiries over the last month. Hey, I'm dredging a pond on Cobus Creek, or I've got a drainage issue on Jude Creek. Voicemails and emails, both from members and then just from citizens. So had a lot of inquiries. Under water monitoring, you're going to hear a lot more about the work we've been doing with stream gauges from Connor. But also I'm on the board of the Indiana Water Monitoring Council, and we're planning a big symposium that's coming up later this month. If you haven't received emails about it and you're interested, that's something, it's free. I would love to turn you on to. Also, Chris is out there, Chris Thomas. We had a great discussion about MS4 and the monitoring that goes on with MS4s and how there's not a lot of guidance with this, and each community is doing very different things. Is there some way to coordinate this? We're sort of waiting on some guidance from the state a little bit on the general permit that we're now no longer allowed to go stronger than, and there's a bunch of stuff on this. But anyway, we've got our ears open, and really I would love to hear from some of my municipal stormwater folks about how we can maybe help in the coordination of that monitoring component. I don't know if that's exactly what it's called, but it's under good housekeeping. It's illicit discharges. And anyway, Chris and I had a good conversation about that. Under advocacy, I mentioned this to some of the folks earlier on the call. I've been having conversations with Representative Dave Abbott in particular, not only about the North Branch of the Elkhart and Sylvan Lake and some of the issues in West Lakes, but also about clarifying water rights. This is something way more complicated and way bigger in scale than our basin, but I met with Noble County Parks Board. They really like to promote the North Branch of the Elkhart as a recreational asset. And I see Brandy smiling a little bit. This is a legal sort of nightmare. And what I'm talking about here is property rights under the water kind of thing. And whether or not a water body has been declared navigable, whether it has been declared non-navigable, or like most of our streams, it hasn't been declared anything, what your rights are as a fisherman, as a paddler. This kind of stuff is a really gray area. And Dave Abbott, made a comment this morning. He feels like it's been kicked down the can for a long time. He's tired of it. He really wants to try and pick this up in session and hopefully get some clarification for us. And I think, I don't know, the work that Dara's doing in the way of water monitoring, all of these issues come up as to property ownership, and you can get into some downright dangerous situations. I mean, I was on the river the other day, and property owners believe their rights are one thing, and when we don't have any clarification from the state, especially during hunting season when people have firearms, it's a potentially bad situation. So we really would like to get some clarification from the state. So I've been doing some advocacy around that. Last thing I'll mention is under partner support. I think Mike Ruff is still here with us today. We had a tragic loss of our surveyor in Steuben County. And so I've been trying to be there a little bit there in Steuben County to help with the transition. I know the Drainage Board, I sent them some different materials, not only about and you trying to work with that transition, but also, there's been some talk not only in Steuben County, but others about a citizens drainage board versus a county commissioner-led drainage board. And so I've been trying to help the folks in Steuben County with information around that. So with that, I'm gonna cut this off and ask if anybody has any questions about the director's report and or requests or anything like that.
Hey, Matt, I guess one comment I would have is for the water rights, property rights issue you were just discussing, that could be an interesting topic for the symposium. And just because, I mean, in the line of work I do, it's super confusing. I work on the Elkhart River, which is a big stream. And as far as I know, it's not a navigable stream. And so if I'm touching the bottom of the Elkhart River, I could be potentially trespassing. So and no one really knows. No one really knows what's going on. So I definitely think it could be an interesting topic. I don't know if you could find an expert on it or not, but it would be something to consider for the symposium.
Thank you, Dara. That's a great idea. I saw that Adam also put in the chat regarding the MS4 and items Rule 5. That is out for public comment now, and he's included the link there. So definitely encourage folks to take a look at that. Thank you, Adam.
Anybody else have any comments or questions on this, on the director's report for Matt? Okay, thanks, Matt. We ready to move on to the presentation, so Matt.
All right. So I included this slide again. I know how much the interns love their photo IDs that were made during the election. We all, and Kieran, you know this, but all those of us in the county city building in South Bend had to have special credentials to get in the building. And so Madison and Connor got official name badges made. And so I robbed those for this presentation. We're going to go ladies first today. And so both interns have been asked to put together a little presentation to talk about themselves and what they've been up to over the last couple months. And then just share any thoughts or I encourage them to make fun of me if they had any good material for that. So I'm going to turn this over to Madison, and she will be handicapped. I believe she's ready. I see her smiling. I'm going to be advancing the slides for them. So it was easier to, instead of trying to share two screens and all this stuff. So she'll give me a nod or a little a verbal cue when she's ready to have me advance her slide.
Okay. And just so you know, there is a new phone number. I don't know if you want to check that or not.
Yeah, I would love to ask whoever that might be. It looks like it ends in it's a 260. So somebody over from the east side, ends in a 11. Do we happen to know who that might be? If you've joined, yep, it's Steuben County to bag. Perfect. So that's Janelle. Thank you, Madison.
Yep.
You're good.
All right. So my name is Madison Ward. I've been the communications intern this fall. And then if you move to the next slide, I'm a senior at Indiana University South Bend, and I'm majoring in mass communications focused in public relations with 2 minors in sociology and graphic design. I chose this major track because I want to help connect the public with sustainable organizations and help with community development. I previously had an internship with the Notre Dame Center for Civic Innovation, which we worked on sustainable projects, and I met Dara Deegan through that. And through him, I met Matt, and I was excited to apply for this internship because it's very exciting to work for an organization that is so devoted to creating a communication network based on environmental issues centered around water specifically, including completing research and taking on projects to resolve these issues. And if you go to the next slide, throughout this fall, I have worked on content analyses, like 2 of them, some proposals, website updates, an organizational charter, and a newsletter turned annual report. And then if you go to the next slide, the 2 content analyses, I don't know the plural for that. The first examining our web presence in comparison to similar organizations. So this included looking at our website and other websites and their social media, which we do not have a social media. And through that, I was able to see what content we may want to include, such as new tabs or new information on our home and about pages on the website, as well as what content there is for Facebook, which we may want to take on in the future. The second content analysis looked at the membership presence on Facebook to make sure that there's enough of our network centered there that we would want to take on that responsibility. We mainly looked for a general presence, such as, is there enough drainage present for us to want to utilize this as a resource in the future? If you go to the next slide. From this research, I worked on a few proposals. The first obviously being social media integration. I created a sample Facebook page with sample posts and content and resources. This was also laid out in a document so that we could see what we would post weekly, bi-weekly, and monthly, be able to schedule those posts, and then have links to news or environmental content that we could also regularly share. Matt pointed out that I should write up a social media policy based on the communications training that was uploaded to the YouTube. And then I also worked on a website renovation proposal, which included new suggestions for tabs and other content that we may want to add to the home and about pages to make sure that we're making information palatable for everyone, the public, members, etc. I also proposed other work plan ideas, including the organizational charter, newsletter, and member survey, which I will talk about later. And then if you go to the next slide, I added 4 new news articles to our website, including one on the Urban Tree Canopy Project, the North Branch Elkhart River Project, the crowdsourced stream gauge installation, which Connor worked on, and the Better Drain Benefit Apportionment Project. Matt and I also linked the new meeting minutes, agendas, and recordings for the past couple meetings, and we have discussed other additions to the website, such as adding contact information to the footer so that people would have access to that on every tab. Also inserting a vision statement that we wrote up and our core values description. We also created a frequently asked questions list, which other similar organizations have, because it's useful to explain our role, how we're funded, etc. Next slide. Matt and I worked on the organizational charter template that I found from LinkedIn, which helped us break down the environment, our purpose, strategies, structures, and systems of the commission. We have a statute to abide by, but we also want to examine what else we offer and be able to explain that through our website content and deliverables. This finished template can be used in the future to clarify our content on our website's home and about pages, and can also be used for new members and employees to further understand the organization. It was very helpful to talk with Matt, myself, just to further understand the commission. Sorry about that. And then if you go to the next slide, the newsletter / annual report was my main project, I think. The first page includes background information, as well as the clarified mission and purpose, and the new vision statement and core values description based on our organizational charter information. The next pages include the new news articles with visuals and the included frequently asked questions section, which Kankakee also had their own in their newsletter. And we have a section discussing the previous meetings, which are a big part of the commission, and a list of the updated members. This will be uploaded to the website when it's finished, and will also be used as handout / deliverable material in the future, in place of or along with our overview document that we usually give out. And finally, my thoughts. Overall, I am very happy that I accepted this internship position. The commission is such an amazing network of people that participates in impressive and invested collaboration in order to provide awareness for environmental issues and promote better living conditions. In the future, I think it is important to continue this collaboration and find ways to increase it. So Matt and I have talked about taking the information we learned and the improvements we made from the organizational charter and put that along with examples of our original content on our website in a survey to our members in order to get feedback on what you guys think we're doing right, how we should communicate that, and how we could improve it if you guys have any feedback. This survey would happen maybe once a year to make sure we're regularly evaluating our content and evolving along with our commission work. The next idea, which is the monthly survey log / report, centers around us publishing more news articles on the website and creating a Facebook and content for that Facebook. We have some content that we can post about ourselves, but we also want to post any or publish any news that you members would like us to promote. This survey would be available if any of you want to send us articles or project summaries that we could advertise. And then finally, creating the Facebook would also increase our collaboration and network reach. And then if you go to the next slide, that is the end of my presentation. And I'm open to any questions if you have any.
Thanks, Madison.
That was excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah. I would just
Really
say
impressive.
she did not take this opportunity to take a shot at me about Facebook. I saw her smiling and smirking, but I am way behind on that, and I've appreciated how she's been about it, and I just want to let you all know that I would really like to hear from you guys on this. I feel like for me as a part-time employee at this point, that we have to have a human being that understands the organization involved in having a presence on social media, period. Like that should have to do with the person that is there. And you know, plenty of groups that many of you work for have someone on staff who does that. And typically it's someone who knows something. Madison did an incredible job of laying out guidelines for someone with all kinds of options for where you could go to harvest information, to post and stuff. I've been still reluctant around, because we have some resources at MACOG. I got to give a shout out to MACOG, you know, that handles their social media posts, and they could do ours more than likely. I just feel that I would need to have a presence on it in order to be engaged and be able to respond and sort of help. I don't think it's a control freak thing. I think it's more like wanting it to have a human face. And I am myself reluctant to take on that responsibility at this point. So we've been talking through how we might be able to launch it without it adding a big new thing to my plate. So thank you, Madison. Anybody else have any questions for Madison?
Just one other comment, Matt, really. Overall, like, I couldn't agree more, because with what Madison has done, because I think the profile of the River Basin Commission would really benefit from getting more awareness. I mean, there's all of us on the call today, and there's probably another couple dozen more people out there that are really aware of what's going on. But it really could benefit from being more just, you know, up there, because it wasn't people's radar of something that exists, for starters. Because if you know about it and you're involved in it, or else you maybe don't know about it at all. So it just would be nice to, you know, if there's an issue, even for, say, you know, if there's a flooding issue or something like that, for the media, wouldn't it be nice that you'd have somebody go to talk to the director of the River Basin Commission? Because, like, you're an overall voice for, rather than just talking to somebody from, you know, from Elkhart or somebody from South Bend, but to be able to give an overall comment on what's happening. So I just think that anything to raise the people's awareness of this is really, really beneficial. And you know, probably beyond time for us to move on to this century of a little bit of social media, and just, you know, what wouldn't be bad. And it'd be beneficial too. The better the reputation, the more wider that the commission is known. You know, hopefully funding would follow with more resources, and you know, guaranteed more income from the. You know, the commission always needs to be trying to make itself more people more aware of it, but also proving its usefulness, I think, really, as well. So I think this would all help and benefit towards that.
Those are great comments, Karen. Thank you so much. Yeah, no, it's so on point that most people don't have any idea we even exist, let alone what we might do. And your comment about, you know, so thankfully there's the handful of you guys who do know about us and recognize that we can be a resource for that larger reach, rather than, like you say, just going to someone at the county level. That happened last night at the Noble County Parks Board meeting. It was like, you know, they recognize that having the voice of the River Basin Commission talking to the legislators about this water rights stuff is way more useful than just them individually as a parks board saying something about it. So, you know, they're looking to us as that vehicle that our statute says is exactly what we're supposed to do. So good stuff. Thank you. I couldn't resist talking about that.
On the social media aspect, when a government entity runs a social media page, there are certain constitutional and open door law and public records aspects that need to be considered when you're setting one up.
Got you.
It is a little more complicated for a government entity like yourselves to go about doing that. It can be done. We've done it before for other entities, but I would recommend that if you are really going forward with it, whatever policy you have, you might want to have me look at it first.
Perfect. Man, I was here hoping you were going to tell me we couldn't do it, Brandy.
You can. It's just a little more complicated.
All right. Good to know.
Well,
Thank you.
well, I suppose, Matt, when we've got so many politically appointed people involved too, that you'd have to be very cautious of that, wouldn't you, of not having any kind of favoritism or whatever, you know. So not that it's not my area of expertise, but yeah, I can imagine, Brandy, that it would be kind of something that needs like a firm overarching kind of guidance on it, so that we would have some set rules. Yeah.
It's a good point. I think even when Madison's research on other entities and what they're doing, there really isn't anything other than the Kankakee and the Maumee. There really isn't anything else that exists quite like us. Most of them all are not-for-profits. And so she's looking at all these not-for-profits that are the closest things to having the mission that we do, but we're not that. And I was always pushing back like, but we're a little different, and so I can appreciate how that needs to be handled differently.
So Matt, should we move on to the next presentation?
Yes, absolutely. If Connor is ready, Connor, are you there with us? I see you.
Yep, I'm here.
All right.
Hello, everyone. I'm Connor Flora. Before I begin, I just want to take a moment just to thank you all. I've really enjoyed my time with the commission, and without all of your support, it wouldn't have been possible. So thank you all very much. Briefly about me, I graduated from Indiana University in the spring of 2019 with a degree in environmental management from SPIA. During my time there, I had the opportunity to work as a hatchery technician for the Elkhart Conservation Club under the guidance of Dr. Ed Esch. I don't know if he's still there or not. It was a appointed position. Anyway, the following summer, I worked on DARA's fish survey crew. And during my time at Indiana University, I founded the fly fishing club there. And then before that, I was involved with several clubs inside the St. Joe River Basin for fly fishing. Following my schooling, I joined the Peace Corps and was stationed in West Africa in Senegal. And was evacuated in March of this year due to COVID, and that's what led me here. Matt, if you could go to the next slide for me. So when Matt hired me in September, we kind of went back and forth for a while about what I would be doing and kind of what I would provide to the commission, and we kind of came up with an initial plan. And that initial plan was to look at the data that's already been collected and kind of break it down, like what has been collected biologically in the basin, what has been collected as far as data is concerned, chemically and hydrologically, and what story can we tell with this data? Are things improving? Are things getting worse? What areas need more support? That sort of thing. So really just trying to find a way to display this information. And what we came up with was to either come up with an app or a web page that was capable of displaying all the information that has kind of been, I guess maybe not all of it, but just relevant information for these three categories. If you go to the next slide for me, Matt. And I kind of ran into some pretty significant problems right off the bat. For starters, it's very difficult to display this data. So the first image you have here is of DARA's sampling sites for the summer of 2019. And while it's, spatially it's perfect, you know what I mean? It's all the sites, they're all ranked as far as, what is good, what is bad. But you don't really get to see the fish that he has been collecting or the macroinvertebrates that he's been collecting. So that has kind of been tricky for me to find a way of collecting that data. And, should I display it spatially or graphically? What do we need to do there? If you hit advance, yep. And so this data is the chemical data that Elise Fath sent me from the health department for the city of Elkhart. And again, it's great data. I mean, it shows what's happening in the different creeks that she was able to sample in, but it's so different from the biological data that it's difficult to put all of these different things together in the same display, so that it's easy to understand and it kind of shows what's happening in the system. And then finally, this is just a USGS stream gauge on the Elkhart River. And again, it's different data again. So it kind of gets to the point where, you know, there's all these different moving parts, and I just haven't figured out a great way of displaying it effectively so we can communicate what is actually happening within the basin. So while I'm still working on it, I've kind of hit some roadblocks there. And then also I have some pretty limited coding knowledge. I've worked with some coding, some HTML stuff, but a lot of this kind of goes over my head. So that has created some problems as well. To kind of move along, you know, Matt, when he hired me, he was like, I don't want you to collect any more data. I want you to just kind of deal with what we have and display it and make use of it. And what I ended up doing was going out and collecting more data. I couldn't resist. So following the North Branch of the Elkhart River report, one of the recommendations that Burke and Associates made was, you know, install more stream gauges. So they listed 3 sites within the North Branches Basin, and were like, you know, it'd be really great to have some more information about these ditches and rivers and streams. And I got to looking, and a USGS gauge is about $35,000 for install in the first year's worth of data, and then a recurring payment of $15,000 every year that you have that gauge on. So that it's just a massive amount of money. It's beautiful data and very useful, but very, very expensive. And so while I was researching that and kind of studying that report, I came across crowd hydrology. And what crowd hydrology is it's a crowdsourced stream gauge created by Professor Chris Lowry of the University at Buffalo. And basically what he developed is a website that you text in the water level, the current water level, and your text is read by the program and then displayed graphically on the website. While this isn't as useful as maybe a USGS stream gauge, or I mean, it isn't as accurate either because it's not constantly reading what is happening in that body of water. It is also significantly cheaper. We installed 3 of these gauges in the basin, and each one came out to roughly $90, $95. So a significant savings to the basin, and there's no cost for, you know, on a yearly basis. You know, the Professor Lowry is not charging us anything to run these gauges. So kind of going off that, but I mean, they're cheap. That's a huge benefit. But the problem is it relies on community members to gather that data. So right now it's cold. You know, people aren't, you know, going to parks as much, that sort of thing. There's going to be not as many data points during the winter. So it's not as robust of a data set, but for the cost, it's very, very useful. And we were able to install them in areas that, you know, haven't had a lot of information gathered in that area. So there could be, hopefully, I'm hopeful that there will be some interesting information gathered by these gauges in the future. If you can click to the next slide for me, Matt. So here's a map of the North Branch watershed. The green dots represent where Burke and Dr. Barr kind of identified as areas that we could use some more information before we make any management decisions. And then if you look at the blue dots are kind of where we installed the gauges. It might be a little difficult to see at that scale, but what we did is we went through and we identified all the parks within this watershed. At the recommendation of Dr. Lowry, he said, you know, if there's more people there, there's more data. So by installing these 3 gauges in 3 parks within the watershed, we were able to, you know, put them in public areas where people can readily access that gauge to give us more data. Now the only downside is they're not exactly where the recommended sites are, but if you look closely, and again, it might be hard on this map, but they are close, and in every case except for the one in Kendallville, they are on the same stream or ditch. The one in Kendallville is a tributary of the recommended stream site. So they're going to still provide useful information for the watershed. It's just a little bit different. But again, we had to do that just to make sure that we can get the most amount of data possible from these crowdsourced gauges. You go to the next one for me, Matt. So the first one that we installed was at Delt Church Park in LaGrange County. Mr. Martin Franke and Miss Mary Franke of LaGrange County were huge in this process. We actually forgot the post driver on the way out there, so they were very helpful to bring that out. That was great. Thank you again for that. But we installed the gauge there. Really interesting system. It's right on the north branch of the Elkhart River. It's in a great spot as far as parking lot and access, so people are going to be able to see it pretty easily. And we already have several data points that have been collected from this gauge, even though it's been kind of cold and in the winter. So I'm hopeful that this will continue to provide data for the basin. Go to the next one for me, Matt. The following gauge that we installed is in downtown Walketville at a park called Walcott Park. It's not as used as Delt Church Park, but it is in a very central location. It's easily accessible from the I guess neighbors. I mean, it is really in a neighborhood, and we have a wonderful individual down there, Mr. Steve Cords. He lives maybe 500 yards from the gauge, and is very interested in managing this system more effectively for recreation. So he has been very helpful gathering data and also installing the gauge. He was very helpful, along with Zach Holsinger of LaGrange County, and Martin Franke again was helpful that day. If you go to the next one for me, Matt. And then finally, Sunset Park in Kendallville. Again, a great location as far as it's in a park. It's in an area of the watershed that we don't have a lot of information for. However, out of the 3 that we installed, I am least hopeful for this gauge just because of the environment that we had to install it in. It's a very manipulated body of water. The brush in that area is pretty significant, so it's kind of difficult to read. However, I think it's very important that we at least make an attempt to understand Bixler Lake Ditch a little bit more because of how manipulated that system is. And I mean, this is a perfect example of, a $90 stream gauge, being put to work instead of, spending $35,000 to understand this small system. The bonus of these gauges, and this is a great example, is if we get to a point where we're not collecting any data from this ditch, nobody that frequents the park is sending any information in, we can take that gauge out and install it somewhere else in the basin at no additional charge. The sign is just a number. There's nothing saying Sunset Park or Bixler Lake Ditch. So if this one ends up not providing the data that we need or want, we can move that to a better location. And Jim Pancup and Sue McGee were very helpful with that gauge. Kind of what I've been working on since installing those gauges and kind of throughout my entire time for this internship. I've been working with Matt to kind of develop a map that we can post on the website. He kind of came to me with this idea at the beginning of my when I started, and wanted to take the gauges that USGS maps and then kind of identifies different colors, based on what they're doing as far as exceedance. And he wanted to clip that for the watershed and display it on our website. And so I kind of ran down some interesting leads, and we got to talking, and we kind of came up with this idea of, well, what if we kind of laid the groundwork for creating a hydrologic alteration index? And basically what that would be or look like would kind of show how water moves through the basin. And so we got to a point and met some really interesting individuals. Coco Raz, which is out of the University of Colorado, collects rain data for the entire country, but for our basin, there's around 320 individuals collecting data and regularly sending that to the University of Colorado for them to map and graph. And so that's what's shown right now. That image is all precipitation data for the month of November. And so what we're working on now is taking that precipitation data and coupling that with the USGS exceedance data to kind of show, okay, if in this one section of the basin we get X amount of precipitation, how does that move off the water, or how does that move off the ground into the water? And is it super flashy? Does it just spike really fast, or does it seep into the groundwater and slowly discharge its way into the lake? And so now the image that you had there is what we've been working on to get that exceedance data from USGS. Unfortunately, we've kind of run into some interesting problems with that as far as clipping the data just for our basin. So in that map, we have real-time data. It's updated as soon as the gauges are. However, it's for the entire Great Lakes region. So we've tried some different things to kind of manipulate that data and using ArcMap and that sort of thing. And we can clip it to the basin, but we can't retain that real-time data, constantly updating feature when we clip it or use ArcMap. We're very close, I think, to having something that we can display. But there's a couple more hurdles that we kind of have to get over as far as making it look the way we want it to look before we can display it. We have the data, we have the context, but we just need to manipulate it a little bit more. You go to the next one for me, Matt. And then finally, the most recent thing I've been working on is looking at what is being done in the basin and kind of trying to understand it a little bit more than I had beforehand. And basically, what I've been doing is we've focused on Elkhart County, and we're looking at Elise's work with E. coli. Jason Kaufman for the city of Goshen, his work for the outfalls down there as well, and just kind of talking to them and seeing like, hey, you've done all this, like, where do you anticipate this going? What data would you like to collect? What does the data show? Just kind of breaking it down a little bit further, so we have an understanding of what's being done in the basin, and we're using Elkhart County kind of as our guinea pig at this point to just kind of see what questions to ask moving forward as we try to cover the rest of the basin. And thanks to Joe Foy, he directed me to the Indiana Water Monitoring Inventory, which is basically a state effort to look at all of the water monitoring efforts that have been done through the entire state of Indiana, and then map them. So it's been very helpful to look at that and kind of get an idea of what's being done in Elkhart County, but then having the ability to dive deeper and have some pretty interesting phone calls with Elise and Joe and Jason, just to kind of see what they've been up to and where they hope their work goes in the future. Has been really interesting. And then the last slide, Matt. Just to kind of wrap things up, as far as what I've learned in the past 3 months, growing up on the river and having all these fishing experiences and working in different clubs and different internships, I never really knew all the entities that were present and how they kind of operated in the interactions. And then when I first joined the basin, I was pretty confused on how we would actually provide support, if it was for the public or for the different people on the commission. And so that's been really interesting to kind of see that interaction, and then how to communicate. it's easy for me to, kind of sit down with Dara and talk about, all these IBIs or talk with Matt about exceedance or stuff like that. But, kind of working with people from different backgrounds and saying, okay, you're doing this and kind of figuring out a way of communicating that and understanding what other people are doing within the basin has been really interesting. And then also delivering projects. So that stream gauge project was really, really useful for me to kind of figure out, okay, you do all this work. How do you kind of roll it out so that you kind of have everybody on board and can do similar things in the future. And with that's my presentation. If anybody has any questions, I'd happily answer them now.
Thanks, Connor. I guess I just add with Connor, he's been able to put in a little more time than Madison, just because of other commitments and schedules and stuff. And so with Connor, it's been especially helpful with these projects he's working on to talk through some of these ideas and concepts. It's really it's helped me refine the work that I'm doing. He's very curious about stuff. He wants to know all the details about how things work, and so I'm forced to explain them, and it's been helpful for me.
Thanks, Connor. I can also attest to the you mentioned the cost of the USGS gauges, but the usefulness, and we installed one in South Bend up by the toll road by our wastewater treatment plant in February of last year, and yeah, we pay about $14,500 a year on annual updates on that, on just the upkeep.
Wow,
it's good though, but expensive,
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Kieran, should we move on
Yeah,
then?
I think so. Just looking back at the agenda here, Matt, and that's most of the business done already. So I don't know that we have anybody from.
In this case, it would be someone who had, so I requested via email if anybody had any comments, questions, things they wanted to bring up from the public. I did not get an email. So as far as we're concerned, this item is through.
Okay. And then let me just see, you're looking for, we've called to adjourn. Let me see, is there anything else we need to cover, Matt, before we adjourn then?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
We've covered it.
Okay, well, thanks especially to Connor and Madison. I think those were great presentations. I think it's always an interesting part of the meetings, and those are particularly good today. So thanks, folks. Thanks a lot. If nothing else to cover, then I suppose we'll just entertain a motion to adjourn. If anybody wants to put that out there, or do you want to keep going?
This is Adam. I just wanted to give thanks to Kieran for serving as our chair this past year.
Thanks,
Great job.
Thanks a lot. Cheers. Different doing it like this, obviously. It's a different vibe altogether, but I enjoyed it. Thanks.
You managed to chair for a whole year.
I know. I feel like I cheated you somehow, Matt. I'm sorry. I feel really bad about that, but it is what it is. I didn't orchestrate it. It just happened, Okay, well, let's adjourn. So I suppose we need a motion for that.
I'll make that motion, Dara Deegan.
Thanks, Dara. And a second.
Second.
All in favor?
That was Randy Sexton.
Aye. Aye.
Thanks, folks.
Thanks a lot, everybody. Really appreciate you being here.
Thanks very much. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for Matt, and thanks, Madison. Thanks, Connor. Thanks, folks.